Trade diversification opened doors to new customers, fast-growing economies, and emerging opportunities while helping businesses manage risk and sustain growth. That's why Canada is focusing its effort on high-potential markets that offer the greatest opportunities for Canadian exporters. My name is Cindy-Ève Bourassa, Director with the Trade Commissioner Service at Global Affairs Canada, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Before we move into our presentation, we are pleased to share a message from the Honorable Maninder Sidhu, Minister of International Trade, addressed to all participants.
Hello everyone, bonjour et tous. Maninder Sidhu here, Canada's Minister of International Trade. Thank you for joining today's Trade Commissioner Services webinar on trade diversification. And more importantly, thank you for being here because you're building the future of Canadian business. By learning how to identify new markets, new customers, and new opportunities, you are doing more than growing your companies. You are strengthening Canada's long-term economic security and resilience. In a world defined by uncertainty, that kind of leadership matters. Here's why. International trade represents roughly 2/3 of Canada's GDP. Exports alone support nearly 4 million Canadian jobs, almost 1 in 5 workers across the country. We also know that within 6 years of a free trade agreement coming into force, trade with partner countries typically doubles compared to non-FTA partners. Exporting companies are more productive, they are more competitive, they are more resilient, and they are better positioned to grow. That is why our government is accelerating Canada's trade diversification strategy, reducing reliance on any single market and expanding opportunity everywhere else. Our goal is ambitious and necessary. To double Canada's non-US goods and services exports over the next decade, that means $300 billion in new opportunities for Canadian products, resources, expertise, and thousands of good jobs for Canadian workers. And we are already moving. Recently, I led a Canadian business delegation of more than 70 companies in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, opening doors for new deals, new partnerships, and new investments. We are advancing free trade negotiations with the UAE, moving forward on investment protection agreements with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and unlocking new capital for major Canadian projects that will drive growth and job creation across our country. Following that mission, I joined Prime Minister Carney in China, where we signed a new Canada-China economic trade and cooperation roadmap, creating a stronger platform for expanding exports and attracting investments with our second largest trading partner. At the same time, we are advancing trade negotiations with ASEAN and Mercosur, launching free trade talks with Philippines, Thailand, and expanding the CPTPP trading bloc to include new partners like Costa Rica, Uruguay, and the UK, with more countries lined up to join. And looking ahead, we are preparing to launch new trade negotiations with India, the world's 5th largest economy and one of the fastest growing markets on the planet. Together, these efforts build on Canada's strong network of modern trade agreements, which already give Canadian businesses preferential access to more than 60% of the global economy. But opening doors is only the first step. Success depends on Canadian businesses walking through them, and that is where the Trade Commissioner Services comes in. The TCS is your competitive advantage. They are on the ground in markets around the world. They understand local regulations, risks, and opportunities. They connect you to partners, buyers, investors, and supply chains. They help you navigate complexity and move faster with confidence. Events like today's webinars are designed to give you real tools, real insights, and real pathways to growth. So use them, ask questions, explore new markets, lean on the Trade Commissioner Service, and think bigger about where your business can go. Because Canada's future prosperity depends on your ambition, your innovation, and your willingness to expand beyond borders. Thank you for being part of that mission. Thank you for being here today. Merci, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Minister Sidhu, for your valuable insight. To begin our program, we will explore why market diversification is key to building sustainable export growth. Please join me in welcoming Michelle Gartlin, Senior Trade Commissioner at the Canadian Embassy in Chile, along with Todd Burns, CEO and founder of Cypher Environment. Michelle, over to you.
Merci, Cindy-Ève. Buenos dias from sunny Santiago. I'm a Senior Trade Commissioner here in Chile, and previously I was in Brussels and London. So I've had the fortune to work with many of you and alongside Canadian companies on their export journeys. I think we would agree that the world is changing and Canada's place in it is also changing. And it's not just Canada. I can tell you from where I am on the ground right now that I can see the trading relationships changing and evolving at a rapid pace. Like-minded partners are seeking to work with each other to fill those supply chain gaps and find trusted suppliers. I see it happening at both the political and the company level. This bodes well for Canada because we are a partner that others seek out, but I'll get back to that on my next slide. Nowadays, my first question to TCS clients is always, how are you being impacted by the tariffs? 8 out of 10 times, I would say the reaction is not what I expected. Yes, after sharing their general frustration with the world order today, they pivot to their global footprint. They talk about their business in North America, but they also talk about how they have a manufacturing plant in Indonesia that serves the Indo-Pacific, or that they have a distribution hub in Latin America so they can get their product faster and cheaper to their customers. As one client said to me, our market diversification strategy is double pronged. We have various markets that we grow in, so we can grow when times are good, and we're more resilient when times are bad. So market diversification does take time, but you're not alone. The Trade Commissioner Service is well positioned to provide you support, with over 85% of our trade commissioners located in countries outside of the US. Yes, some traditional markets are becoming harder to access, but the good news is that new markets are opening up and they're growing fast. So if we look at the Indo-Pacific, for example, they have a growing middle class, fast adoption of digital technology, so the demand for Canadian solutions is growing. If we look at Europe, they have a growing opportunities in defense, energy, critical minerals, and Canada's well-established relationship with the EU positions Canadian exporters well. And here in Latin America, the region is growing fast in infrastructure, energy, mining technology, agriculture. If we just look at the big five here in Latin America, so Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Mexico, that gives you access to over 500 million consumers, and half of those are middle class. So where do we start? Obviously, start where your company has a competitive advantage, whether it be in services, products, price, quality. Next, look at where Canada has a competitive advantage. Where are the free trade agreements? Fortunately for Canada, we have 15 FTAs, which covers 51 countries. So that gives Canadian exporters preferential access to 1.5 billion consumers. These agreements not only give you the competitive edge, they also protect you. They give you the framework and the conditions that you need to know before you enter a foreign market in case you need protection. I mentioned I'd come back to this point, but also look to leverage the relationship and the reputation that Canada has in certain markets. I'll use Chile as my example. Canada is the largest foreign investor in Chile with over 40 billion invested. This is EDC's third largest market after the UK and the US. This is CCC's top 10 global market for defense. We also have over $10 billion of pension funds, Canadian pension funds invested in Chile. So what does that mean for Canadian exporters? We are a well-respected, well-liked investor. We have great access at senior level decision makers in both private and public sector. And the Canadian connection is huge here. So it gives us access to those opportunities within those Canadian firms. And my last point I want to talk about is just on taking a regional approach. When I see a Canadian company in Chile, they're usually doing business in Peru, Colombia, etc. They didn't come into all these markets at once. They came in with a regional mindset and they scaled up with their resources. I think it's a successful strategy for a couple of reasons. First, it lets them come into the region cautiously, working out the kinks in smaller, more forgiving markets. I saw this a lot in Belgium. Yes, the ultimate goal was Germany, but Belgium allowed them to adapt and work out the problems before they got into a more competitive market. The other reason is many of these markets like Chile or Belgium, they depend on exports. So you are going to find experienced partners here who can take you into those other neighboring markets because they've had to. Their economies depend on exports. And lastly, Being positioned regionally allows you to move quickly into new markets as they come online. And I'm thinking of Argentina. I have many Canadian clients who are well positioned here in Chile and are watching as Argentina becomes more business friendly. They're ready to make a move. And on my last slide, let's just touch on how the Trade Commissioner service can help you. So yes, developing new markets can be very difficult in the short term, but in the long term, it will lead to more stable growth. The Trade Commissioner service is really here to help you eliminate that upfront difficulty so you can get to the stable long-term growth quicker. We're on the ground in over 160 cities. Our trade commissioners are both Canadian-based and locally engaged. That means they have knowledge on the local culture, the local contacts. They really are an asset to Team Canada. The access we have in some markets is unparalleled. I look at my TCS team in here, Chile. We have over 100 years of collective experience working for Canadian exporters. Tap into it, leverage it, don't waste your time, don't waste your money, get the advice before, during, and after you invest. My last point is on partnerships. We as a TCS can help you. Yes, find the leads, the intelligence, the partners, the buyers, the regulator. That's our bread and butter. That's what we do. But we're also a partner. I encourage you to consider and work with us in that partnership form. We have many clients, we refer them amongst each other, and we promote you in our market when we're doing our outcalls, our speeches. We share your success stories with each other. We're your champions in this market. So keep your trade commissioner up to date on your progress. Don't hesitate to give us feedback when we send you leads or suggested partners that don't fit within your company. It's important as for a know, and we can troubleshoot together. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Todd Burns, CEO of Cipher Environmental, who is an example of a well-known client to the TCS, who we've watched grow in many markets. He leverages the TCS, and he's here to share his market diversification experience. Over to you, Todd.
As Michelle pointed out, Todd Burns, founder and CEO of Cipher Environmental. I'll give you a very quick overview on who we are and what we do, just so you understand a bit more about our diversification strategy. But we're a clean tech company, as I'm sure you can tell by the name Environmental in the company name. We make environmentally friendly alternatives to traditional products that are used on roads. So for dust control, de-icing, stabilization. So everything we do is environmentally friendly, and by using our products, our customers save a lot of money and dramatically reduce their OPEX as well. Now, I talked a bit about how, we focus on roads, so that's infrastructure. So you must think, well, the public sector must be our #1 buyer, but they're not. Everyone has challenges, I think, getting new products adopted in the public sector. So we've shifted our focus entirely to private industry. So you'll see us a lot in conversations about mining, forestry, oil and gas, aviation. And we manufacture everything here in Canada. So I'm sitting here at the office in Winnipeg. And projects have been successfully completed with our products in approximately 50 countries around the world. I've been to 44 of them personally, so I've traveled a lot. And so as Michelle pointed out, we've really leveraged the Trade Commissioner service in our trade diversification strategy. There are boots on the ground when we don't have distributors, or when we're adding new distributors or doing due diligence on customers or projects or new markets. And so when we sell primarily through distributors in a lot of markets. A lot of our clients require certain regulations on the local supply chain, percentage and so on. And so we actually have to have distribution partners in various different markets. And so, like I said before, I've been to 44 countries, so I've tested out a lot of different markets personally. Our initial strategy, when we didn't really have, I think, as much of a focus as we do today on the industries in which we're focused, was kind of peppering, ourselves out there, testing this market and that market. It's expensive. I don't always recommend it. And so we were small. We didn't really have the opportunity to engage with sort of mentors, maybe like I do for certain other Canadian companies now. And so we didn't really understand the absolute necessity of really doing your homework in the market before you enter it. So understanding the industries that are there, the competition, the local supply chain regulations. Do you work with a distributor? Do you go in direct? Do you work with sales agents? Do you have multiple distributors? So I'll use Chile as an example. In Chile, of course, there's no other, I think, industry in the world that has such a high concentration of mining in such a small area. And so, like I said before, mining is a big focus of ours. So, but there are a lot of other industries in Chile for us to leverage. And so in Chile, for example, we've chosen to have two distributors. So one for mining and one for everything else. And so while, if you look at a few past passports, I have 44 stamps from different countries lately. I'm only going back to the same countries because while we do have eggs in multiple baskets, we know which markets are the high value, high target markets for us, such as Chile, and so we're choosing to invest more time there. And I think when you talk to Michelle about understanding the free trade agreements that Canada has with other countries, it's also important to understand the free trade agreements that those countries have with their neighboring communities. You talked a lot about using Chile to get into Argentina. And we're also looking at Chile as a manufacturing hub. And so we're actually going to be looking at placing manufacturing in Chile within the next 24 months. And we're not just looking at that to capture the Chilean market, but Peru, Argentina, Brazil, and so on. And so it's a major part of our diversification strategy. It's just understanding the markets now we're operating in. So I'm just going back to the same countries over and over again. You're not seeing too many new stamps in my passport. And as a company too, I should point out we're not selling a lot into the U.S. I think most Canadian exporters are really focused on the U.S. because it's so close, because there's similar cultural and language similarities. But our focus actually has been elsewhere. And a little tip for those new exporters: your insurance premiums will be much lower as a result. And now, if we did have all of our eggs in one basket, of course, it would be very challenging, such as just focusing on Chile or just certain markets. I'll look at West Africa as an example. It's just some closing notes. You have to also understand the geopolitical sensitivities in those markets. If you look at what's happened recently in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, with them leaving ECOWAS, in Mali in particular, with two big Canadian mining companies there, B2Gold and Barrick Gold, having to renegotiate mining royalties and licenses and so on. We have major clients there, and if we didn't have a diverse sort of market to look at and sell to, we'd be in a major hole right now if we were relying on the revenue generated from those clients. And so, like Michelle said, we've leveraged the Trade Commissioner Service when we don't have a distributor on the ground. They are our boots on the ground to teach us about the cultural nuances of doing business there, do our homework for us on potential distributors and customers, and ultimately just introduce us to new opportunities. So once again, very grateful for all the support you guys provide to us. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Todd, for these important perspectives on navigating international markets and the benefits of trade diversification. Next, we will take a look at how exporters can identify and prioritize new market opportunity with Laura Riguto from the Forum for International Trade and Training. Laura, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm here with the Forum for International Trade Training to basically tell you about, if you're looking to diversify, if you're looking to select that next target market, to, as Michelle said, to maybe keep it in the hopper so that when things are a little tricky with your main trading partner, you can look to other markets. I'm all about being prepared and being strategic even when it comes to selecting those target markets, because if you're not selecting the market that has the highest potential for you, you might be wasting your scarce resources. So we mentioned that I'm with FITT. The Forum for International Trade Training is headquartered in Ottawa. And we are the leading provider with specific training dealing with international trade. So getting your products and services across international borders. We also certify international trade professionals. I am a CITP myself, and I'll mention that in one of the slides coming up. But it's important for all of you to understand that trade doesn't just happen. Selecting that next market doesn't just happen. It happens with a strategic and informed focus. And so we provide the training to make that happen. Our FITT Skills training, so our learning center is co-branded with Export Development Canada. So I'm just giving you a little snapshot of some of our trade knowledge. that I'm presenting today. It starts with export readiness. So whether you're already exporting, maybe you're already exporting to the United States, you're looking to diversify, or maybe you're already exporting to several countries, still comes back to that export readiness. Are you ready? Are you truly ready to take on new markets? I'm going to talk about strategic market research, a little bit of feasibility, and then market expansion. All right, export readiness. So we know that successful exporting organizations, typically they start with being successful domestically. Their products or services are unique in one or more ways, and they're competitively priced. Not necessarily the lowest price, but competitively priced. So the organization itself has some traction. So a solid domestic plan with proven effectiveness, specific advantages over the competition, because we know that when you go into other markets, there are going to be competitors likely from every, continent around the world. Really important to stress that the organization has to be willing to invest resources. So that's time, people, and capital without a buy-in for a period of time. It takes time to develop new relationships and to understand that landscape in the new market you're going into. Important to have a sensitivity to and an awareness of cultural differences in doing business in other countries. And successful organizations have conducted that gap, their own gap analysis. So assessing their current state. There are many export readiness tools out there. I know TCS has one that you can find online. And that helps to flesh out what some of your gaps are. And I mentioned earlier that I'm a certified international trade professional. I've done all the FITT skills training. There are 6 courses, everything from feasibility of international trade through to trade finance, international sales and marketing. If you do not have someone on your team, you could be a small team of a couple people, you could be a medium-sized enterprise, but if you don't have individuals on your team that have those skills, that understand the nuances in international trade, understand what it takes to get your product landed in that market, or understand where you need to go to find the information you need about the regulations and that whole regulatory and legal landscape. If you don't have someone on staff that can help you connect all those dots, you likely won't be as successful. So do that gap analysis, see what your current state is, and define your gaps and find a way to address those gaps before you throw all your scarce resources in finding multiple next markets to diversify into. All right, so how do you identify your next target market or your target market if you're just exporting for the first time? Step 1, we say there's a wealth of information out there to help you screen potential markets. There's market reports and studies and stats. So this is secondary research. This is your desk research. This is available to anyone. Use AI. AI can be great to help you with that secondary research. There comes a time when, researching just for the sake of researching, not really that relevant. You have to be able to analyze that data and then, create a short list of those target markets. In order to assess those potential markets, you're going to need to conduct some primary research. I always say the best form primary research is to attend a trade show. Often there's a trade mission component to that. The Trade Commissioner Service organizes a ton of trade missions and trade shows for specific industries. So I really suggest that you use that as your first step in obtaining that primary research, which will help you select those target markets. All right, but where do you start? So when you're doing your research, there's so much out there. So I always say start with the global stats first. So I have trade data online. You could look at the resources at the International Trade Center, those trade maps, market access maps, and export potential. There's a lot of stats. I always go down that rabbit hole and I can spend tons of time in there, but there's a wealth of information. So start with those global stats, then look for your tariff advantage. Michelle mentioned Canada signed 15 free trade agreements. They encompass 51 countries. So if you're not familiar with the Canada's Tariff Finder tool, I really highly recommend you go on there and you look and you compare what your tariff advantage, you look to see what the most favored nation rate is, and compare it to the preferential access you have into that market with a free trade agreement. That will give you an indication that maybe you select those markets where there is a tariff advantage. And then look at that product industry specific data. So keep drilling it down till you get those key pieces of data that you need. So I mentioned the market reports, wealth of information out there for, with both the Trade Commissioner Service, Export Development Canada, and you can find lots of reports on priority sectors and markets. There are other paid reports that are already prepared and you just pay for that report. But sometimes I would say if you need that key piece of data in order to advance, time is money. So sometimes paying a consultant, an independent expert to get that information that you need, sometimes that can save you a lot of time, and the research, the ROI on that might be quite favorable for you. Another point is sometimes you need to validate that information. You need to test the waters, and there's no way like an in-market visit to do so. We talk a lot about the suitability of products and services. Considerations like regulatory compliance. Can you comply with all the regulations in that market? So that's often a determining factor on how you select your market. So that regulatory compliance piece. Also, have you done enough research to determine what modifications and adaptations you need to make to your product or service in order to sell in that market? Intellectual property protection is a big consideration. What are the risks in that market? What is your risk? What is your appetite? What are maybe some of the mitigation strategies you can come up with for your organization? So IP protection is huge. And then as well as that product liability piece. What is the legislation around product liability? What if somebody gets injured consuming your product? What is the legislation around that? All right, so market feasibility. So we learned, about the market research that needs to be done in order to screen markets. You're screening for size, growth, accessibility. I mentioned compliance with all regulations. You need to research, the competitive landscape and where you would position yourself in that particular market. Is that, when you do your positioning, is it crowded in that space where you'd like to position yourself? Then you establish market priorities within that market. So for example, Chile might not be one market. There are different customer segments within that market. I know Todd mentioned different industries like the mining industry versus other industries, and they use different distributors for both. So understanding your market priorities within the countries is super important. In assessing the potential within those market segments and the suitability, you really need to assess all costs. So we spend a lot of time doing, cost analysis. If you're a product exporter, understanding that total landed cost. By the time you ship it, you clear it through customs, you pay any kind of taxes, duties, etc. What is your landed cost? Incorporating or understanding as well business development costs, product development costs, modifications, adaptations, that mold. If you need to create a new mold, I know that those molds can be thousands of dollars. So understanding what are your total costs, what are the risks involved, and then determine at the very end, is there a margin to be earned? Because it may not be feasible if the margins, after you pay all the costs, if you don't earn a margin or a sizable enough margin, maybe that's not the right market for you. So really doing that assessment first, doing your due diligence, understanding total cost before you dive into a market. Understanding the landscape and understanding that market and understanding how you might enter that market. So it could be through a direct or indirect exporting, could be through licensing, franchising, or it could be you might feel that you need to open up a branch or representative office. Sales and marketing, super important. There's so much here. It's a whole course, but I do want to mention the marketing mix. So understanding that your marketing mix for each target market that you go into probably will be different. So just because you have a specific marketing mix, you enter into a market like the United States a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that with your target markets, your diversified markets, you're going to have the same marketing mix. Okay, here are our 6 courses that I talked about, everything from feasibility, which is most of what I've talked about today, through to international sales and marketing. I really urge you to take a look at the training, and if you need to develop the skills and do some professional development of yourself or the team, we would love to help you with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura, for presenting a clear and practical framework for market selection. Our next session highlights the tools and expertise available through the Trade Commissioner Service to help Canadian exporters succeed globally. We are thrilled to welcome Sarah Wilshaw, Canada's Chief Trade Commissioner, and Alison Catmore from the Atlantic Regional Office. Sarah and Alison, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Cindy-Ev, and hello, everyone. It is so exciting to be with all of you and to have this conversation. It is incredibly timely, not just timely, but it's essential. It is absolutely essential for Canadian businesses and for your long-term economic success that you are taking the time to explore international markets, that your interest and your engagement on this topic is really, really timely, very important. And I'm so appreciative of all the time that you have spent with us, and hopefully this information is useful to you and is just the starting point. I really also want to thank our partners at FITT. That was a great presentation, and I'm super grateful to Todd at Cypher as well for sharing those real world insights and the lessons that you have learned from diversifying your export markets. There really is no substitute for hearing directly from a business with their firsthand experience. We all know that power of storytelling. And in today's rapidly evolving global economy, export diversification is a critical strategy to reduce risk and reliance on a single market and build that long-term resilience to those global shocks that we are watching and witnessing. We know it's hard and we know it can feel risky, and that is why the Government of Canada is working to create the right conditions, to put in place the right pieces and the frameworks that will help Canadian businesses to diversify. That includes pursuing new free trade agreements in many of the world's fastest growing markets, in particular in the Indo-Pacific. We have a number that we're pursuing there right now. And once in place, those agreements will help build on our already existing network of 15 free trade agreements already in force, covering 51 countries and access to more than 1.5 billion consumers worldwide. These agreements are the foundation of Canada's trade diversification efforts. They provide Canadian businesses with unprecedented access to opportunities abroad, and all of that is really, really important to all of you, I am sure. But you have to take advantage of them. They can only deliver results if businesses are there, along with the tools, the resources, and the opportunities that we will make available to support your international expansion. The good news is, you're not alone. You are not pursuing this diversification journey on your own. This is where the Trade Commissioner Service comes in, of course, along with all of our amazing and fantastic partners all across the country, provinces, territories, other government departments and services, Export Development Canada, Canadian Commercial Corporation, FITT, the chambers, and so on. We are working with everybody. Now, I've just given you a whole list of folks who are active in this space. The good news is you don't have to figure out where to start. We will help you do that too. The TCS, the Trade Commissioner Service, is a key vehicle through which you can diversify your export markets, through which Canada can achieve its goal of doubling overseas exports in the next decade. That is a tall order, and we need everybody to be on board to do that. But we have the trade experts on the ground in more than 160 cities worldwide, and the TCS can help you approach those markets with the confidence that you should have as a Canadian exporter. You're going to hear in more detail very, very shortly. But as you know, as Todd and Laura also mentioned, we provide market preparation, connections, strategies, events, and all kinds of other things. And we do all of this for free to eligible Canadian companies looking to do business with the world. We also offer funding and accelerator programs. We host export-focused webinars, just like this one, and we provide tailored support at trade events in Canada and around the world. In addition, we organize Government of Canada-led trade missions all over the world. The TCS is designed to support you on each and every step of your export diversification journey, helping you to make informed decisions and to succeed internationally. I'm going to turn it over to Alison Katmer, who's our fantastic trade commissioner in our Atlantic Regional Office, and she's going to tell you all about our programs, our services, our supports, and how to connect with us. So thanks again for taking part in today's webinar. And Alison, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. The last time I saw you was for the Team Canada Trade Mission in Hanoi, Vietnam, and what a splash that was. So everyone, if you've never been on one of these trade missions, it's fantastic. So stay tuned. I'm Alison Katmer. I'm a trade commissioner with our Atlantic Regional Office. I'm joining you today from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. This is where I am based. These are the traditional lands of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, and the Inuit peoples, whose histories and cultures I would like to respectfully acknowledge. It's a real honor and privilege to have been asked to represent our Trade Commissioner Service regional network today. In this presentation, I'm going to share how our team can help you explore opportunities, navigate challenges, and ultimately succeed in overseas markets. So today's session is going to introduce you to the TCS, walk you through the key solutions that we offer, including export advisory services, funding and support programs, trade missions, and events like the one I just mentioned, the TCTM in Vietnam. I will highlight how Canada's broader trade team works together and wrap up with ways that you can connect with us. So let me introduce you to the Trade Commissioner Service, aka the TCS. The TCS is here to help Canadian businesses of every size to take bold steps onto the world stage. So whether you are just beginning to explore international markets or maybe you're ready to scale, the TCS offers you expert and customized advice to help you move forward with confidence into new markets. So think of us as your trusted partners and advisors when developing and implementing your international business strategy. But advice is really just the beginning. We also provide funding and accelerator programs, as Sarah referred to. We organize trade missions. We support companies at trade events around the world. We help to give you the tools, the connections, and the visibility that you need to succeed. So while helping Canadian companies export is one of the biggest parts of our work, and it's the focus of today's webinar, our mandate actually goes even further. We also help attract foreign investment into Canada, and we facilitate research and innovation partnerships that help to drive long-term growth. And all of this is made possible because of our TCS superpower. If you haven't figured it out yet, that's our global network. So since Canada's very first trade commissioner was deployed to Australia in 1895, our networks have grown and evolved dramatically. Today, we have more than 1,000 trade commissioners in over 160 locations worldwide and in 16 cities across Canada, 6 regional offices and 10 satellite offices, like the one I work at here in St. John's. We're right here in your ecosystem. We're ready to help you. And our international reach gives us an unparalleled insight into how business is done in markets around the globe. So when you knock on my door, you don't just get advice from me, you get access to my 1,000 friends around the world. So not bad, hey? After all, in global markets, networks reduce distance, accelerate trust, and enable trade. So please take advantage. Our impact really speaks for itself. Companies that use our services consistently outperform those that don't. Research has shown that on average, our clients export to over 20% more countries and earn over 20% more in export value. And 85% of our trade commissioners are located in countries other than the United States. And so we are uniquely positioned to provide strong support for trade diversification to help you tap into opportunities in regions that you may not have considered before. And the best part, as Sarah mentioned, it's offered free of charge to eligible companies. What's the criteria? You need to be export ready. And Laura talked about how you can make yourself export ready. You need to have meaningful economic ties to Canada. You have to have the potential to contribute to Canada's economic growth, and you have to have the capacity and commitment to expand into international markets. And because Canada's success depends on the success of all Canadians, we are really committed to ensuring exporters reflect the diversity of our country. That is why, in addition to our core services, we offer tailored support for companies owned by groups that have traditionally been underrepresented in global trade. When a business is ready and sees a fit with the TCS, our regional trade commissioners across Canada are the perfect first point of contact. We're here to help you prepare, plan, and take that next exciting step. And maybe you'll get as many stamps on your passport as Todd has towards your global growth. So moving on to the core of what we do and how we can help you. At the TCS, we provide tailored export advisory services designed to give you the clarity and confidence that you need to make smart and strategic decisions in international markets. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. So first, we help you prepare for international markets. We equip you with market insights and practical business advice. Whether you're exploring your first overseas opportunity or you're refining your priorities, we help you zero in on the markets that make the most sense for your business. Secondly, we help you assess your potential in specific markets. As you know, every country operates in a different political, economic, and cultural context. So we help you understand these nuances, help you map out your approach, efforts, and resources that you will need to succeed. And we don't stop there. We also help you actually connect with potential customers, partners, and trusted contacts around the world, opening doors that can accelerate your growth. How many times have I heard a company tell me that one introduction that trade commissioner made for them at that show helped them unlock an opportunity or resolve a challenge? If you hit roadblocks, whether it's a market access challenge or an unexpected issue on the ground, we are right there to help you resolve it. So in short, our mission is to help you enter markets armed with confidence, reduce risks, and make faster, more cost-effective decisions. So why not take advantage of our supports? I'd like to provide you with some more information about our support program. So this one is one of the coolest. Our Canadian Technology Accelerator, or CTA for short, is designed to support global growth of Canadian companies with an existing market-ready technology or product in high-growth tech sectors such as clean tech, digital industries, and life sciences. We also now have new CTAs focused on dual-use tech companies. The program offers customized services in key global tech hubs in Europe, Asia, and North America. Each individual CTA program is tailored to its local market and focuses on a specific subject area. Benefits of taking part in a CTA include access to our network, insights and advice from industry-leading mentors, introductions to strategic partners, potential clients, and investors. CTAs can vary in length and in format. There's no program costs other than your travel and accommodation, no equity taken. CTAs really offer a unique opportunity to accelerate your growth. CTA participants have generated more than 300 million revenue, raised over 750 million in capital, and formed over 1,100 strategic partnerships. So those results really speak for themselves. More information and a sortable list of upcoming CTA programs is on our website, so check it out. Now let's move on and discuss other supports. So this one's going to be a popular one, funding. So we have a Can Export program with different funding options to help Canadian exporters grow and access new international opportunities. Can Export SMEs is one of them. Under this program, companies can access up to $50,000 for international business development activities in markets where they have little or no existing sales. So follow us really closely, and I recommend you register an account on the online portal in advance. Under Can Export GAC-led delegations, SMEs can access up to 50% of eligible travel expenses to cover costs related to participation in select TCS-led trade missions and event delegations. Under Can Export Innovation, innovators from Canadian organizations can receive up to $75,000 to assist with R&D for a single technology or pursue R&D agreements with international partners. This program is open not only to SMEs, but also academic institutions and non-governmental research centers. So I'll also mention Can Export Associations, which targets national industry associations who can receive annual funding of up to $500,000 under that program. These programs are really competitive. So Listen up. I'm going to give you some tips right now. 1, don't wait until the last minute to prepare your application. 2, read through the applicant's guide. 3, start early and do your research. 4, make sure your proposal is aligned with your international business strategy and with the program guidelines. And 5, of course, leverage our advice to make your application stronger. Follow these steps and you'll be more likely to succeed. So more information on who can apply and eligible activities under these CanExport programs are available on our website. So moving on to other ways that we can help you. The TCS plays a key role in helping Canadian companies diversify their markets by connecting them with potential buyers or partners at trade events in Canada and overseas. You can see some pictures there of different events we've participated in or hosted. Of course, there's also our international trade missions. The TCS leverages trade events worldwide to provide companies with tailored support, and we help you stand out and connect with those international partners. Through TCS booths and Canadian pavilions, and by facilitating B2B meetings and networking events, we help you unlock opportunities. The TCS also organizes Government of Canada-led trade missions, as we've referred to overseas markets where Canadian businesses have strong potential. These trade missions directly support Canada's trade diversification efforts and open doors to connect companies with long-term trade and investment opportunities across strategic regions and in growing markets. Trade mission participants learn about doing businesses in the host market and gain exposure to their social and business cultures through networking opportunities, on-site market and industry briefings, and pre-arranged B2B meetings and site visits. Government of Canada trade missions have really varied in scale and scope. They can be large scale, like our Team Canada trade missions, multi-industry missions, really a huge splash. It's quite something. They can also be very targeted and focused on particular sectors, which also has incredible value for the companies that participate. So you can imagine they offer high visibility, and this is key. Led by a minister or a senior government official, such as Sarah Wilshaw, these trade missions raise Canada's profile abroad and really open doors for participating businesses. They also offer low-risk market exploration and entry. So government-led trade missions facilitate access to new markets. They help you forge those strategic partnerships. They help you identify commercial opportunities. Companies benefit from market intelligence, curated networking opportunities, and on-the-ground support from the TCS. As Todd said, we are your boots on the ground. Team Canada collaboration, so government-led trade missions bring together a broad delegation representing various Canadian industries, as well as reps from federal, provincial, territorial, municipal governments, chambers of commerce, trade organizations, etc. The goal is really to present a unified Team Canada presence. This helps build trust with international partners in some of the world's fastest growing markets where we really need to stand out. So visit our trade events and training webpage for a sortable list of all upcoming TCS organized trade missions. We've got a really awesome website, so check it out. Every exporter journey is unique. The TCS collaborates closely with our partners, so we really have to give a shout out to our wider trade team. We're offering support to Canadian businesses throughout their global growth journey and depending on what their needs are at any stage. So our federal partners on Canada's trade team include Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada, who really support agriculture and agri-food industries, helping them with cash flow, business risk, and preparation for international markets. BDC, Business Development Bank of Canada, near to my heart because I'm actually co-located with their office here in St. John's. They offer financing, advisory solutions, and capital to SMEs in all industries at all stages of growth. We've got the CCC, Canadian Commercial Corporation, another really important player helping businesses pursue sales to foreign governments. So provide government-to-government contracting mechanism that helps to de-risk the transaction. We have EDC, Export Development Canada, Canada's export credit agency, helping Canadian companies of all sizes navigate, manage, and take on risk, allowing them to grow and succeed in global markets. And if you haven't, you should register on their website because they have a whole bunch of really awesome webinars. So I recommend you tune into some of them. I'd like to mention another key partner, Farm Credit Canada, a dedicated lender for the agriculture and agri-food sector with a range of financial products to support Canadian farmers and businesses related to farming. And finally, ISED, Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, helps you find and take advantage of government programs and services that you need to expand or scale up your business in Canada and abroad. So together, This is our Team Canada supporting you in your expert journey. So last but not least, how do you contact us? Follow us on LinkedIn. A lot of us have LinkedIn accounts. You'll find me there. Flip me a message if something was unclear. Follow us on Facebook for the latest information, get updates, watch our videos on YouTube. This one will be available. So if you couldn't see the slides, just check it out on our YouTube channel. You can scan this QR code to connect with us, explore a new website, and learn more about how we can help you do business around the world. So again, remember your first point of contact to begin your journey with TCS is our regional and satellite offices. So please reach out to us. We're closest to where you do business. Thank you for your time today, and I will pass it back to our moderator.
Thank you, Sarah and Allison, for demonstrating the important role of the Trade Commissioner Service in helping Canadian companies succeed in new and emerging markets. To wrap up today's session, I would like to welcome back Sarah Wilshaw for closing remark. Sarah, over to you for the final words.
I hope if we've done absolutely nothing else, we have convinced you to give us just a little bit more of your precious, precious time and reach out. And it might be the most important thing you do that day. So please reach out. We're here. We're here to connect you to all of the resources and supports that we have available. And there is so much that we didn't even talk about today. So absolutely delighted that we were able to do this. We'll do it again. And thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it.